I am so excited because today I have my friend Kelly Roach. She's going to talk about conviction marketing, authentic content, hope-driven strategies, and how you really stand out. She's going to talk about the psychology behind the buyer's journey and give you some real advice on walking potential customers through the conversion process. So get excited to enjoy this episode with my friend Kelly. Hey friend, welcome to Milk and Honey with Lemon. The Bible says in Numbers 14:8, and if the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us safely into that land and give it to us. It is a rich land flowing with milk and honey. On this podcast, we talk about stepping into that overflow that God has for us by becoming those ultimate Proverbs 31 women. Hey, I'm Lemon. I am just like you, sister friend. I knew God had something more in store for me, but I couldn't see a way out of the laundry piles. And frankly, I resented that Proverbs 31 woman. How was I going to live up to the hype? That is until I found out how to really step into becoming this Proverbs 31 woman through leadership development. In this podcast, you're going to find financial freedom, leadership growth, and motivation so you'll be able to do all the things God has called you to do with ease and really step into that land of milk and honey. Welcome back to the Milk and Honey podcast. I'm your host, Lemon Price, and today I'm really excited because I have my friend Kelly Roach with me. You guys probably know who she is because I was just telling Kelly, this is wild. Every single person I've talked to in the last 2+ weeks has brought up her name. Kelly is one of the only female founders in the online space to build her company from 0 to 8 figures with zero debt, no investors, no outside funding. She is a former NFL cheerleader. She's a Fortune 500 exec turned 8-figure entrepreneur. And listen, what she does, I think is incredible. She has 11 international best-selling books, which is crazy. I'm working on my first one now, so I can't imagine 11 of them being bestsellers. She's a top 20 podcast host. She's a philanthropist. She's been in some major media, which you know, ABC, NBC, Fox, and Forbes. We have that in common, which is amazing. She's won several awards. And just thank you for being here, Kelly. I'm so excited.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. Of course. I was telling you, it's so wild. Every single person I've talked to in the last 2+ weeks has brought up your name. I'm like, they all knew I must have been interviewing you soon.
There we go. See, serendipity.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Can you tell us like a little bit of your backstory and all of those kind of things? Like, how did you get here? Because I know taking a company to 8 figures too is like not for the faint of heart. I've done it before and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, absolutely. I never dreamed of being an entrepreneur. I was not on a mission to be my own boss by any stretch of the means. You know, I came from a family that, struggled financially. And so my whole life, it was like, how do I change the story? How do I rewrite the story for my life? And all growing up, I always took on as many jobs as I possibly could. And I was always hustling, doing a bunch of different things, including up through college. And I was an aerobics instructor and I was waiting tables and I was an NFL cheerleader and I was doing all these different things, to make ends meet and all of that. And, when I graduated, I just got the most entry-level job in a Fortune 500. And I said, I'm just going to be the first one in and the last one out every single day. And I'm going to make the most of this opportunity and, see what happens, right? So I did that for a decade. I was promoted 7 times in 8 years. I built a team of 100 people and I was managing 17 locations. And I just fell in love with everything about business and coaching people and cultivating talent and building businesses, essentially. That's what I was doing. I was building each of these branches, which were essentially their own businesses. And, I got to the top of the corporate ladder and it was a choice. Do I want to keep going on planes, trains, and buses and, just making this one corporation lots of money? Or do I want to take everything that I've learned and go out and really try and make an impact on the world? And, that's when I decided in 2012 to start, my own coaching and consulting business to basically take what I had learned and what I've been using in this Fortune 500 to break all of these records for growth and profitability and expansion and really see what I could do to bring that to the entrepreneurial world. And, with such a substantial failure rate in entrepreneurship, and you've built businesses before, so you know what I'm talking about. It's the school of hard knocks, right? It is not for everyone. And, I wanted to fill a lot of those missing gaps that I was seeing that never really are taught in the world of entrepreneurship, which is one of the reasons why I think so many businesses do fail. And that's how I ended up becoming an entrepreneur. And, fast forward, here we are, 11 years later, and now I have a portfolio of 6 companies. My first company's been on the Inc. 5000 list a bunch of times, and it's just shattering your own ceilings and trying to make a difference for as many people as you possibly can. And, try to keep growing and keep learning and just enjoying the journey, enjoying the process.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I feel like you were telling basically parts of my story, which is so wild. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I actually didn't even want to climb the corporate ladder. That wasn't like my goal. And then I found myself in the C-suite at 26. And I joke about it all the time, but I think the company did it intentionally because they were hemorrhaging cash when they brought me in. And I had already won like a few marketing awards and things like that. And so they brought me in. And it was somebody from church who brought me to this company. So no resume was submitted, no nothing. It was more like an after church conversation and I got the job. And when I got there, he was like, hey, by the way, there's only enough money to cover 3 months worth of like payroll and expenses. So if you don't fix this, we're going to go bankrupt. And, okay, so that's probably why you brought me in, because if it works, great. If it doesn't, you can blame it on the fact that I'm 26. And then we did 8 figures in 10 months. And I was at the same crossroads. I'm like, do I keep going or do I, because that, I think, I don't know about you, but did that irritate you too a little bit? Like, you're like, I put in all this work. I don't know. It's not like I was like I didn't have any stake in the company or anything like that. And so my salary was exactly the same.
Yeah.
But like they were making millions and I reduced their cost by 98%. Like all this. So there was like a lot of room here. And I was like, wait a minute, my skill set brought this to the table. What could my skill set do if I'm like free to do something I actually want to do? And that's how I ended up as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, for sure. I felt towards the end of my time that my capabilities weren't being utilized because of like the corporate structure and, a lot of the things that even my own leadership and management couldn't allow me to do or change or whatever. And that's when you know you just need to grow. It's like when you are hitting, those, the sides of the box, it's time to break the box. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what leads you to the next step.
I love this so much. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I felt like I was suffocating. Yeah. I'm like, I can't do the things that I want to do. Yeah. And there was some like toxic workplace. I was the only woman at my company too. So I had to like deal with all that comes with that, being the only one there. And then jumping into entrepreneurship. And like you said, it really is like the school of hard knocks. And you have to decide like who you want to be. And people are scrutinizing everything that you do. And which is what we wanted to talk about like a little bit today, is this idea of conviction marketing and being a thought leader in your space. And I would say, considering the amount of times people have talked about you this last 2 weeks, I wish I could have sent you a message every time, like, this is wild. But clearly, like, you've established yourself as a thought leader in this space. And so I loved what you said about conviction marketing and all the, can you like talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And most of my books and most of the big breakthroughs that have allowed me to become the leader in the space that I am today came from either frustration or failure. Period. End of story. And conviction marketing was no different. I wrote a book on it because I was really pissed off. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. I wrote a book on it and then I launched my own agency around it. And now it's my second company that's now $1 million company. And, it came from the fact that, so I teach very like values driven, intelligent, smart, savvy, service-based entrepreneurs, how to be category of one in what they do. And I help people build multi-million-dollar companies doing that. And there was this huge trend back a couple years ago that's, it's really fizzling out now. It's very interesting. And I'll share a little bit about that. But, where it was all about like the dancing videos and the trending audios and the pointing and the lip syncing and doing the skits and like all this ridiculous stuff. And I'm not here to judge anyone that loves that and does that genuinely enjoys that and feels like it's a match for their brand, because I feel like you got to do you, right? But what came up for me and what was coming up for my clients is there was this enormous amount of pressure, and all of the direction and all of the feedback from all of the gurus online was like, this is what you need to do. This is how you're going to go viral. This is how you're going to grow. This is how you're getting fans and followers. And there was no one teaching an alternative method that was about using your intellect, that was about really just serving first, about understanding the psychology of your buyer, really standing out as a true thought leader and gaining attention and followership and conversions via impact versus just attention seeking. And I was like, this is some effing BS. And I'm going to do something about it. So I created the conviction marketing method. I taught it to all of my clients who are, having 7 and 8 figure success. Like I help people build these amazing companies. And then I wrote a book on it because I wanted to be able to get that into everyone's hands, because not everybody wants to have to chase the next trend that they see happening on TikTok or Instagram. I shut my TikTok account down. I want nothing to do with it. Like nothing to do with it. I have no patience for that world and what goes on there. I don't want to spend time there. I don't want to be a creator there. And I'm not judging anyone that is, but I think that's what conviction marketing is. It's knowing your values. It's knowing what resonates for you. It's being discerning and creating in a way that is authentic and in alignment and values driven in whatever way that looks like for you. You could interview someone else that sits in my exact seat that's like, TikTok has been the best thing that ever happened to me. They built their whole business on TikTok. They're having immense success. They feel so fulfilled. Awesome. That's their conviction, right? But there was no one that was presenting an alternative pathway for people. And I feel like it was really causing a lot of creators that had immense talent and great things to share with the world that could make a huge impact. It was really causing them to pull back and be like, where's my place? And how do I show up? And how am I going to compete in this market when this is what everyone says you have to do? Now, what's really interesting, and I talked about this in the book, is that, all of those trends and all of those fads, that you're seeing online, they're amazing for gaining attention and getting followers. They are horrible for converting them into paid customers. And so the conviction marketing method is very much about how do you attract, nurture, and convert by pulling this thread of value all the way through the process, hope, how to, and conviction content. That's where that came from. And, again, like I said, all of the biggest things that I've done, all of the great marks that I feel like I've made in the entrepreneurial space have either come from, okay, I've been doing it and failing, and now I need to innovate and create something new that's actually going to work. Or I see this thing and I'm really pissed off that no one's solving this problem in a unique way. So I'm going to step up and I'm going to, fill that gap. And so I would just say for anyone that's listening today, like whatever that little thing is that you can't get over that's frustrating you so much, there's a chance that there's millions of other people that are feeling that same frustration, that if you create a meaningful solution to that, they're going to be really excited about jumping on board with what your solution is.
Okay. I love that you said so many things about what you said. I love what you said, because I have a friend, she built her entire business on TikTok, which is fine. And she taught a course on it. It was great. And I got 10,000 followers very quickly and everything, but I hated showing up.
Yeah.
I hated it. I felt like there was so much pressure. There's all these, I felt like I constantly had to be perfect, and you're worried about being viral and all. I was like, this feels so exhausting and I'm not super interested in it. And now, and I love that you said too, there was all this pressure in the beginning too, especially during the COVID years, point and dance and do all these weird things to gain attention because people were bored at home. That now I see the opposite, where faceless accounts are trending. I would love your thoughts on that. How we went from the extreme of everybody's dancing and pointing and doing things to now there's, people want to be anonymous and build a little bit and go faceless.
Oh, yeah, because people are burnt out of pointing and dancing all day long. So that's the thing, right? So here's what I teach people, and this is part of conviction marketing, right? Build something sustainable that you don't want to escape from. That's a great rule of thumb with every single business decision that you make. If you build something that you actually enjoy, that is in alignment with your true gifts, that is really showcasing what you're here to do in the way that you're here to do it. And I'm a God person. I don't know, for all the listeners, I'm a Christian, I'm a God person. And so for me, being a creator and being a teacher and being an entrepreneur is very much about glorifying God. It's very much about showcasing your gifts and exploiting them and giving them away to other people, which is very hard to do when you're creating in a completely inauthentic way that feels like you're a fish out of water and you're like doing stuff that doesn't even feel like right for you. And I'm not excusing people that like aren't showing up for their business, right? Like visibility is essential. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying like there's different strokes for different folks. And that's what conviction marketing is about, finding your unique angle and doing it in a way that can lean on your intellect, right? Not whatever is attention grabbing or, whatever the case. And I think to your point about people wanting to go faceless now, it's because they're exhausted and burnt out from pushing themselves so hard for so long to do things that aren't necessarily like true to themselves, And so I've always resisted jumping on any of those things. I've never jumped on any of those trends. And, for me, I have over 1,000 podcast episodes now. I've been doing shows like this, like 2 a week for God knows how many years now. And so when you create in a way that is in alignment for you, it's sustainable over time. And in business and in entrepreneurship, the compounding effect of executing the basic fundamentals over time, it's the biggest competitive advantage you could ever have. And that's what people don't really get. They're always thinking in these very short windows and these very small incremental windows of success, when the people that are going to have like very monumental, like outlier levels of success, it is the consistency over time. And you can't do that if you're constantly burning yourself out on chasing things that just aren't a fit,
Okay. I feel like I feel like Holy Spirit.
This is like a therapy session.
Yes. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I need to go back and listen to this again because, there's so many things that I just took away from what you just said. There's been something that I've contemplated creating because I'm good at it, but I was already thinking of the exit strategy before I even created it. And I felt like all of this resistance to doing it, but people have been asking me for it.
Yep.
I've had so many requests for it. I'm like, I can do it. That was always the thing. I'm like, I can do it, but I don't necessarily want to do it. And I love that you just, because I feel like you just gave me so much permission to be like, no, it's okay that I'm not going to do this.
Exactly.
And I'm going to stick to the thing that I love to do. And I don't have to show up everywhere. Podcasting is my jam. We've like upped. You're like getting a therapy session for me now, but I've loved it so much that like we have enough content. If I were producing episodes once a week, I would have enough content to 2026.
That's
right now, which is amazing because I've had incredible people come on. After the podcast hit Forbes, I've had an influx of requests to be in the podcast, which is amazing. So I'm speaking and it's beautiful. But I'm like, I could do this all day. If this is what I did all day, I have a back-end membership that people can join. People join it all the time from the podcast. Like, I'm like, this is fulfilling to me. Thank you for giving. I feel like I just got so much permission to like do the thing that I actually love to do.
Yes.
And I should know this as a marketer.
Yeah. That's why we have to talk to each other, though, because sometimes we just have to reflect it back and forth between each other.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And I love like when you were talking about just this buyer's journey too, and the psychology behind the buyer's journey and like really speaking to them. Because I don't think enough people, or I see people who are like, oh, the buyer's journey, your customer journey, but they actually know nothing about the psychology behind that and the thought process. I don't think people go deep enough into that. Can you like talk a little bit about that whole process especially around this idea of conviction marketing? And we're all Jesus people here, so you can talk about Jesus as much as you want.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we're all praising Jesus.
Thank you. Okay, good. That's wonderful. Yeah. So the way that we think about the conviction marketing pyramid is that at the bottom of the pyramid is your how-to content, right? And your how-to content is that quick, easy, instant value add that typically attracts people into your world for the first time because they're like, this person specializes in this thing, right? This person knows something that I don't know, and I'm going to take action to learn the thing that they know, and it's going to make my life or my business or whatever the case better, right? And this is really important because this is how you grow your audience. This is how you build your email list. This is how people discover you. This is how you grow your visibility, right? But the problem is that a lot of creators rely so heavily on that quick flash with the great hook, and they're so worried about getting people to either opt in or to engage. I see people, their accounts, you see that these accounts every single day, they have 1 million followers, they have massive engagement online. They're making back-end sales. Or if they are, they're making very little. You could go then see an account that only has 1,000 followers that's doing $1 million in revenue. And I just have to give everyone that reminder, because that's what you forget when you're in the entrepreneurial bubble. More does not always necessarily mean more. So anyway, at the bottom of the pyramid is your how-to content, and this is how you attract people into your ecosystem. It's awesome. It's important. It's a great starting point, but it will not keep people engaged. And I cannot express that enough, because what people do is they have a 3-second attention span, and they go from your opt-in to her opt-in to his opt-in to her opt-in, and they just keep bouncing and bouncing, because every 5 minutes they're like, oh, if I learn this thing, then I'll be fixed. And then if I learn this thing, then I'll be fixed. And they just it's that bright, shiny object syndrome. The whole internet is designed to drive this, right? And so that's why understanding the role that how-to content plays is really important, because if you don't understand, that is literally just the entry point. That has nothing to do with how you'll retain their attention to get them to the point of buying. Then you'll understand everything that I just talked about in this interview about why, trending and getting viral videos and all of those things is not an effective growth strategy for monetization, because it casts a really wide net of a ton of unqualified buyers that are never going to actually do anything in your world. And it looks great for engagement, but it's killing you softly, because now you're having to create, but it's not converting into anything. So the next tier up on the conviction marketing pyramid is your hope, right? And hope is like 98% of what is going to get people through the buyer's journey of know, like, trust before they buy. Okay. And hope is where you are the friend, you are the confidant, you are sharing your lows, your highs, your lessons, your learnings. You're now their mentor. You're giving them all of these like inspirational things to say, like, I was where you are. I made it through. You can too. Come along with me. I'm going to help you get there. Because what happens is when someone starts the process, when they're down in the how-to, everything is exciting. They have stars in their eyes and butterflies in their stomach, and they're like, this is going to be amazing. And then what happens is they get into it and they're like, this is a lot of work. And they're out.
Went through that.
Yep. They're out as quick as they came in, because they're like, this is a lot of freaking work. And I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I want to do this. And so you have to get really good at your hope content in order to take people from that moment of the stars and butterflies to actually getting them to stay in your ecosystem and keep opening your emails, watching your content, listening to your podcast, being a part of your world, to take them through those steps. And now people are sitting in the ecosystem 6 to 9 months before they buy. So if you're not good at the hope content, that's going to be a problem, because even though you're going to be continuing to add value every single step of the way, you're going to be continuing to do your how-to content so that you're giving value, you're investing in them, you're pouring into them. If you're not marrying that how-to content with that hope content, they're not going to keep engaging, because no matter how much value they've already shut down. They've already shut down because this doesn't feel possible for them. They're more emotionally connected to where they are than they are to where they want to go. Your job is to move that emotional connection over to that future casting state. And then the third pillar of the pyramid is conviction. And conviction is really where you differentiate your methodology, the why behind your methodology. You relieve them of the burden of why the other things that they've tried haven't worked, what they can do differently, how they're going to finally shatter that glass ceiling that they've been stuck at. This is where, like for me, when all of my peers were teaching trending audios and dancing and pointing and blah, 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 that was where I put my stake in the ground. And I wrote a book called Conviction Marketing. And I said, don't do that. Do this instead. You don't need to chase that unless you really want to and really to, which very few people do, by the way. I don't know anyone who actually enjoys doing that. I think everyone feels pressured to do that and they think they have to do that. But anyway, it's your opportunity to give an alternative to the other solutions that are on the market. It's your opportunity to kind of state and put that pillar, that stake in the ground of, I know you've seen and heard all of these methods. I know you've tried this and this. I know you're still maybe not seeing the result that you want in this area. Let me tell you why this is going to solve those problems for you once and for all. And here's the alternative. And this is why it's going to make such a difference for you. And a lot of people can't do conviction marketing because they don't have any conviction, meaning they say they want to stand out and they want to stand out while fitting in. And you can't have both. You can't have both. You have to decide, do you want to stand out and have a conviction about something, or do you want to fit in? Most people are altering their behavior, their methodology, the way that they speak, the way that they teach, and what they're doing based on what their peers are doing, which that's the blind leading the blind anyway, right? And so you have to decide. Are you here to please your peers? Are you here to fit in with your competition? Are you here to be offering and doing what everyone in your industry is doing? Or are you here to make a difference? Are you here to stand out? Are you here to stand for something? And that's the decision that we all have to make. Now, when you bring all three of these types of content together, and every week you're doing all three types of this content, how to, hope, and conviction, you're nailing every single element of the psychology of what they need to feel and hear and see. And in the book, I give all different examples of, okay, this is what how-to could look like. This is what hope could look like. This is what conviction would look like. And what are all the different ways that this can show up in your weekly content so that you are truly guiding them, gently guiding them through this pathway from discovery to conversion. And it allows you to do it your own way. It allows you to do it in whatever way feels good to you and authentic for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is so funny. So I just went through this process with somebody. She'll be on the podcast soon too, Chelsea Jubilee. She has this incredible program. It's on like cellular hydration. And she was talking about trauma. And I listened to her on another podcast. And she hit all of these things. Like, you've tried this and it hasn't worked. You've tried this and it didn't work. And I understand how you feel and all these things. And then I have a health coach now because I'm working with her. And he, in our very first text, sent me his before photo when he was 800 pounds. And you're not 800 pounds. I now weigh like 195. So I can go from this to this, and so can you. And then this weekend, it was really awful. For anybody listening, on Easter weekend, I decided it would be a great idea to cut all sugar out of my life. And so I sugar detox this weekend, which is like really terrible. I don't recommend it. It's not for the faint of
interesting
heart.
choice of timing.
I know. I didn't plan this well at all to sugar detox. But I was sitting there. I had a fever, the whole like kit and caboodle. And I was like, okay, but I know like my health coach and Chelsea and all these people have gone through it and they feel great now and they don't have this craving. So I'm like, I can get through this really sucky thing too, because there was a lot of hope in their content and in their marketing. I love this.
Exactly. So good. So you experienced it.
Totally. Yeah, I know. I'm telling you, we are gonna have to talk after, because I have so many takeaways. I literally texted my husband. I was like, I need to talk to her all the time, actually, because
you're amazing.
You're amazing. Oh my gosh. I feel like this episode, I don't know, it's for you guys when you listen to it, but I feel like I needed this episode personally. So
that's so awesome. I always, it's so interesting because I love doing these conversations so much. And I feel like for all of us as, podcasters, we're so lucky to get to have these conversations. And I always take something away too. And I feel like it always feels like perfect timing. Like when you have a conversation with someone, you're like, I needed to have that conversation today. Right?
Yes. Yeah. That is so good, because I want to say your assistant probably reached out 6-7 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that the conversation would have hit the same if we had this conversation like 6 weeks ago. So
it always happens that way.
That's so good. He's so good. I know people are going to be obsessed with this episode. So Kelly, because I think people are going to listen to this and be like, I need to work with her because I need this. But I love what you said too about how people don't have conviction and they just want to stand out but fit in, and they say, oh, so good. So good. So how can people go work with you? How can they go find you? They need to go connect with you today.
Definitely. Connect with me on Instagram and just DM me the word mentor. I have 6 companies, so I have solutions for people from the inception of becoming an entrepreneur all the way to exiting a business. I have teams in each of these companies that specialize in what we do. And there's a place for everyone to go to their next level based on where you're sitting today, what is important to you in your life, what season of entrepreneurship you're in. And I would love to have a conversation. So come, Kelly Roach Official is my Instagram. DM me the word mentor, or Facebook. I actually spend a lot more time on Facebook than I do on Instagram, but my team's on Instagram more. Just DM me the word mentor and would love to have a conversation and see how we can support you. And the Conviction Marketing book is on Amazon. So it's, I don't know, $26 or something like that. And it's something you can install in your business like right away and see results.
I love it, guys. I will link to all of the places to connect with Kelly. I'll link the book, everything that you need to do, because please go connect with her, because let me tell you, this was so good. I needed this conversation so bad. So just thank you, Kelly, for being here. I so appreciate you just showing up and pouring out all of these like God-given gifts and talents that you have. Just thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was an awesome conversation today.
All right, friends, until next time. Hey, friend, what a joy it has been to share today's journey with you. If you found a spark of inspiration or a nugget of wisdom that resonated, would you bless someone else by sharing this episode with them? It could be the encouragement they need to step into their purpose and calling. Also, if you could spare a moment to leave a review, it would mean the world to me. I really appreciate your feedback, and it really helps our community grow. Remember, the road to discovering God's call for you isn't one you have to walk alone. So join me again next Monday for another episode where we'll continue to explore the depths of leadership and the heights of our heavenly calling. Until then, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep trusting in His plan. God bless you, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye, friend.